considering Carver's got more than one mask, you might find yourself going back for seconds. Here's your look at the NECA Toys Thanksgiving Ultimate John Carver action figure. This year, there will be no leftovers. A masked killer terrorizes Plymouth, Massachusetts in this Eli Roth-directed horror flick that originated from the trailer in the film Grindhouse. This Thanksgiving Ultimate John Carver action figure is highly articulated and comes with all the trimmings: musket, sledgehammer, axe, dart gun, meat tenderizer, knives, removable hat, extra hands, and 3 interchangeable masks. I hope you made some room on your shelf, because this figure's got plenty of sides. Just before, of course, we get a closer look at the NECA Toys Thanksgiving Ultimate John Carver, the tape measure is going to tell us, now keeping in mind, again, he's got his pilgrim hat on. That's going to make the figure a little bit taller. But with the hat already on him, he's going to stand almost 8 inches in height, or the figure's going to be about 20 centimeters tall. I've had quite the adventure, let me tell you, about trying to get my hands on the Ultimate John Carver figure here. Now, probably one of the primary reasons why you guys haven't yet seen the review here on this channel was that I pre-ordered this guy well into last year when NECA first announced that they were doing John Carver figures and that they were going to be making pre-orders available on their site. It was probably the same time that I jumped right away to their site and I put the pre-orders in for both the retro version of John Carver, the retro cloth version, and the Ultimate release. This is the first time, by the way, full disclosure, I've ever ordered anything directly from NECA. I've always been the type that just goes to other online sites and do my ordering of NECA there. But I thought, this is a pre-order. I've never done this before. I'm going to jump over to their site, get the pre-order in, and I'll hopefully get the Carvers right away. Well, one thing I didn't know that I know now with NECA, and a lot of companies do this also as well, so it's not solely just NECA, is that companies a lot of times, to save the shipping, they'll wait until everything in your order becomes in stock before they ship your entire order. So even though Ultimate John Carver has been available for a bit, and again, one of the reasons why I'm a little late on this review, even though that's been available, the retro cloth hasn't. They listed it as a release date in May. So that meant, unfortunately, even though they had the Ultimate, they weren't going to ship everything until the retro cloth was going to be available in May. Well, impatiently, I couldn't wait any longer, not only just for the sake of the review, but also to have finally Carver in my collection. I ordered from another online site where I normally would normally go to get all my NECA figures. Ironically enough, as this guy showed up to my doorstep or to my post service where I pick up my mail, ironically, days later, I got an email from NECA saying that they were going to be shipping the retro cloth and the Ultimate John Carvers, and they're now on their way. I know that means now I'm going to have myself a second John Carver, which isn't a bad thing at all. It just will mean, with the figure already having as many accessories as he does and 3 different faceplates, that will then also mean I can display the figure in 2 different ways. That just made a short story very long. We're going to shorten this up also a little bit as well for comparison's sake. Let's bring in some other holiday horror slashers. Here's what John Carver looks like with the Ultimate Michael Myers that got packed along with Sam Loomis. Yeah, looking at the two, by the way, as well, you probably can see there's a lot of molding that gets shared between the 2 figures. The arms are exactly the same. The top of the torso, except for the fact that Michael Myers has a popped collar and bullet holes riddled across his torso, it seems to be that they're also using the same molding. Because, of course, you'll see as well, he has that very kind of familiar crescent moon indentation, the little wrinkle that he has on the one pocket, is also shared with Michael Myers. The only other thing that they actually don't share, funny enough, is the part of the legs below the knees. I'll show you guys that when we get a little bit more closer inspection of John Carver. They're actually using different lower legs between Michael Myers and Carver. Another figure as well, celebrating the holidays, a holiday of love. Here's what the figure looks like with my Bloody Valentines, the Miner. Boy, that was long-winded. Okay, let's look at the accessories now that come included with the figure. John Carver gets himself a pair of knives. 2 different knives for 2 different purposes. One purpose is just to stab people, while the other one, being a carving knife, is good for slicing up meat. I hear the juiciest meat is in the thigh. Both of these look like they've been painted in both the blades, done in silver, and then the actual handles, you can see as well, been painted in black. Don't worry, he does come with necessary hands for holding all of these accessories. Some of the hands, like these ones here, have the fingers permanently attached to their thumbs, but they're suitable for holding, like, for example, the knife. Hands that have, for example, and just grab a couple of examples here. This one is another one that has, you can see, like the fingers attached onto the thumb. So again, good for holding like the tenderizer and all those other things. Then he also has hands that have the fingers separate from the thumbs, and those are good for holding like the musket, the axe, the sledgehammer, all those other accessories. So he gets like quite a lot of hands. We'll also move those to the side. The figure comes included with the dart gun. The dart gun is something that we see in the movie. I mean, for a very short period of time, granted, but it's molded here in black plastic. There's a little bit of indication of silver added in there as well. And the chamber at the top, I guess that would be the part that holds the darts, has been painted in a slightly different black from the majority of the gun. And again, you get a hand actually for that. There's one that is a little bit wider of a grip, and that's perfect for also holding the dart gun. Also, too, like the hands that he already has in his forearms already have extended fingers. So if you wanted to have those hands be the hands that hold the dart gun, you can also use those also as well. The figure also comes included with a tenderizer. I don't know many people that tenderize turkeys, but certainly if you want to tenderize other meats or just tenderize people that you have held hostage, the figure also comes included with that as well. We see also this in the movie. It's been nicely painted here in a kind of more rusted brown. And again, like you can take any one of those, well, these smaller gripped hands. You can take the tenderizer and fit them easily in there, and they're not going to be going anywhere. Figure also comes included with a musket. I love the look of this musket. It's molded again here in plastic. I love the way they've added the grain, first of all, so it kind of gives it a wood look. They've painted the flint stock there. Is a flint stock on the top there, and painted the additional barrel there in gold, so it's a little bit of a different color than the silver, or kind of more the bronze finish that they have onto the side. And you probably could just have the figure using the hands that he has right now for holding. Just, by the way, as well, flip this around so you can see it's a little bit different of a detail there on the back of the musket. Just a nice looking gun accessory. Put that off to the side. The figure also comes included with a sledgehammer. Sledgehammer and actually the axe are probably going to be one of my go-tos when it comes to displaying this figure. I think more so I'm probably going to be settling on the idea of displaying the figure with the axe, but I really like the idea that he also comes included with the crowbar, or not the crowbar, with the sledgehammer. And not to really say that it has to be dedicated to this figure. Just because, you know, again, like these accessories come stock with Carver doesn't not mean that you could just not have the displayed with another figure. So like Michael Myers wants to use a sledgehammer. Hey, why not? Why not? Just give it to him instead. The handles are a little bit different. You can see, like, for example, the axe is a slightly lighter, more bleached wood that they've used, where it's a little bit more darker for the sledge. The sledgehammer on the top there is a little bit darker of a color, nicely painted there. But my go-to, my favorite of all the things that come included with John Carver is by far the axe. Really like the way that that looks. It is something, again, so iconic about the way we see that in the trailer, where he's just swinging the axe back and forth. Definitely going to be displaying the figure with that. Figure also comes included with a couple of swapped out faceplates too. They sort of took a page from the ghost face, the New York Comic-Con ghost face that we also had a look at, where instead of just worrying about having to pop a head off every single time, it's actually instead just a faceplate that you remove instead, and you change it out with the ones that we have right here. Just before doing that though, I did want to pick the figure up and show you guys what he looks like up close and personal. If you haven't yet seen Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, you definitely have to check it out. It's maybe not as, I would say, gruesome as what's first initially depicted in the trailer that we see for the Grindhouse, but it's definitely a classic already. I mean, it's one that I could certainly see myself watching every single year. I'm super excited for the fact that Eli Roth has already announced that he's going to be doing a Thanksgiving too. I have just an entire franchise of these. Also, kudos too, as a side note, to NECA for jumping on this license right away and releasing not only an Ultimate figure that we're looking at in this review, a Retroclaw figure where we will eventually be looking at, because we already know the story behind that. There's also a Toonie Terrors release, and I think as well, there's the stuffed turkey. Looking forward to getting that one as well. But overall, like, it's a nice looking John Carver. Again, it's utilizing mostly just the same body as Michael Myers. It's also using somewhat the same body as well that was used for the Miner. So like you can see, like, the arms are going to be the same. It's got that little wrinkle that sticks out on the bicep. That's also carried over there as well. The lower sleeve is also shared the same. Like the moment I saw this guy online, or the moment I saw in the trailer, I thought, okay, if NECA's going to do a figure of this, they're probably just going to use the coveralls for Michael Myers, or, you know, again, from the Miner, and that's certainly what they did. Michael, granted, does have the popped collar, so Carver doesn't have that. His collar is folded down. But the thing that you can always kind of point out right away of them using the same mold is that little crescent shape that he has. See, a little crease that he has in the pocket is also something that John has there as well. So they wouldn't have not put in like the little bullet holes. They obviously would have folded down the collar. But I mean, like, looking at the bodies, they are exactly the same. They're also using the same similar body to as well, the Miner. The only thing that's different, the only thing that you can see is different is that the lower legs, if you're looking at them, Michael has sort of like this cross shape at the bottom, where actually, if you look at John's actually got a little bit of a tucked in wrinkle there on the side. So it looks like they're using a different lower leg. And obviously they would too as well, because they're using different feet. I mean, Carver kind of walks around kind of more in like hiking shoes, where Michael Myers would have had like the military boots. So again, a little bit different there. One thing that's also really interesting about John Carver involves the mask. Now, obviously, we see this mask for the majority of the movie. This is one of those things that everybody in the town can get access to, a John Carver mask. So it's one of those things you never really quite know who the person actually is. I really like the way that this guy's been done in the figure. The only thing I would say is I do feel like the pilgrim's hat is maybe a little too tall. I think in the movie it's only about like that high. I don't think it's as tall as it's depicted here. It's got the little buckle there on the front. That's one of the things, of course, he has in the movie. But just an awesome looking mask. I just love the look of this mask. I love eventually to get my hands on the John Carver mask. I think Trick or Treat Studios has one available right now over on their site. The whole back of the mask actually is all black, like it would be in the movie. The thing that's interesting about this is that Carver comes included with some also alternate head sculpts, also alternate face sculpts, as you're not replacing the entire head. You're only really replacing the face. This one face does have the blood splatter across the front of it. Other than that, though, it's exactly the same. The thing that is different, though, if you've seen the movie, is that he leaves a mask sitting on the oven. Now, thinking that this is a plastic mask, I think it probably should have melted a lot more than what we actually get. And, I was a little bit disappointed, too, seeing the movie, that he didn't just wear this mask for the majority of the movie once he picks that mask off. So, again, it's got a little bit more of a melted look to the front of the face. I think it's a creepier looking mask, but I guess they just want to go with more of a generic mask here. Really neat looking design, though. What's interesting, though, about this guy is that you have to remove, in order to change all the faces, by the way, you have to remove the top, first of all, of his hats. This is just a case of just removing it. It's fairly soft plastic. You just put that off to the side. And then he has this piece, which, for again, like if you're going to have the figure displayed without the hat, it's a fully realized head. It doesn't look like it's unfinished in any way. But the thing that's really interesting about this guy, I'm just going to put him down here for a second, and I'm going to reach off to the side, and I'm going to grab myself, Harry Warden, or the Miner, if you prefer to call him Miner, from My Bloody Valentine. Remember when we looked at this figure, he had a removable gas mask. I'm going to remove it right now, and there's a reason why I'm doing this. Just carefully taking this off. You have to kind of get it around this back section of his mask here. There we go. Removing it, you can see, remember underneath there would have been the shocked look. I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to give it away for anyone that hasn't seen the original 80s My Bloody Valentine. Remember he had the shocked look underneath his face? Okay, put that guy right there. By the way, again, like using the same bodies. Picking up John Carver, though, I'm going to go remove his face. So we're going to take off the hockey mask. And funny enough, wouldn't you know it, it looks to be the case that they're using the exact same head underneath. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me at all. I mean, at least, if anything, it's a finished face. It's not the case that you're just taking off Carver's face and it's just completely blank and void of detail. But it's funny, though, that they would have gone back, not only used the same body as the Miner, but also used as well the surprise look underneath. And of course, he's just wearing like the ski mask underneath that. The only thing that's different, though, is that this one does have a little slot there in between his eyes. And that's the thing that accommodates then the other masks. See, with the other masks, they also have that little lip of plastic right there. So you can just take that and you line everything up, and you just put it back down on his face. It's weird just to kind of be able to take a face, like we already have that one, and be taking a mask and just fitting it over top of his face with a slot in the middle of his forehead. But again, there's this one. Again, we're just going to remove this one and put on the bloodied mask. See what I mean? Like, even though I'm going to have two John Carvers in my collection, I don't mind at all, because I'm probably going to have one with the cleaner mask. This is the bloodied mask, by the way. And then the other one I'm just going to have with the melted face, which I was again thought that was a cool mask. I really wish he could have used that for the rest of the movie. Let's just move the Miner out of the way. And then from there, of course, you're just going to take yourself the pilgrim's hat. We'll just put that back over top. It's just such a cooler looking face sculpt with now the melted face. Adds a little bit of additional coloring there also as well. As for the rest of the body, obviously, other than just the gloves being a little bit different and the boots being one thing that's really different between them, using a lot of the same body, except for really, again, like the lower half. I'm going to also bring back the Miner, because I also want to show you the Miner isn't also using the same lower legs. Obviously, the boots are going to be different, but if you're looking at also the calf section, Carver's using a completely different sculpting from like the knee down. Let's just move him back over there. Now, for the figure's articulation, if you already have both the Michael Myers and the Miner, you already know by now what kind of articulation we're dealing with. So the head's going to be on a ball joint. The only thing about it, though, is it's kind of really hard to know where you're going to be holding on to. I mean, you can hold it from the sides, you can hold it from the front of the face, but the face either way, though, moves back and forth. You can move it up and move it down. There's not really a lot of movement going on here. And a lot of times that I have done this, when I lift it up, sometimes I end up popping the faceplate off in the process. As for the arms come out, I wouldn't say at 90 degrees, a little less than 90, about 45 degrees, but they at least rotate all the way around. That's the same on this side as well. Figure does have a double hinge on the elbow. The hands also as well rotate all the way around. And this is, by the way, soft plastic, but you can kind of feel that underneath all this, there's something working behind the scenes. There seems to be a ball joint at the top of his torso. Legs, once again, split. They're on ratcheted joints. You can take the legs, move them forward, move them back. There's a swivel at the top of the thigh, single hinge in the knee, and then again, you've got that articulation back and forth on the ankle, and there's a nice ankle rocker too. Did we already mention the fact that he is using different footwear than both the Miner and Michael Myers? There it is right there. A little bit shinier of a plastic as well. Same similar kind of sheen that they've also given him when it comes to his gloves. And again, like, let's grab one of his weapons here, just kind of wrap things up here. Grab my favorite of the things that he comes included with is the axe. Now, this axe, granted, I probably should really change out the hands. What's a really good hand to use? I guess probably one of these hands. Just to remove the hand, we're just going to pop it off from the provided forearm. It's just a case of wiggling it back and forth. There we go. Pop that off and replace it with one that's a little bit better suited for carrying around the axe. If you're having any difficult time, as we're kind of wrapping up things right now, but to close shop for the night, also, you can always go the route of heating the plastic with hot water. And that's always a good way to kind of prevent, obviously, pegs from breaking. You don't want to have pegs ever breaking on your figure. Let's slide the axe in place. Yeah, that looks so cool. Finally happy. Not only the fact that Thanksgiving was an amazing movie, and I can't wait for the sequel to come out, but the fact that we finally get ourselves a John Carver figure. Admittingly, it sort of falls the terrain of what we expected was going to happen. NECA ultimately just took a figure. Let's just go ahead and put the miner's helmet back on here. Carefully. Don't want to be breaking the miner's helmet. There we go. I mean, essentially, knowing that John Carver was going to be wearing coveralls in the movie, the logical idea would be that if NECA was to release an ultimate figure of him, that they would just take sort of the cues from characters on either side of him and just release, in fact, the same mold. And they have, other than, again, like the lower knees being a little bit different from the other two figures on either side of him. John Carver is a welcomed holiday slasher. Not only for Thanksgiving as one I'm now going to watch every single year, but now also an included figure that I can have on display with both Michael Myers and the Miner. Two other slashers that live about the holiday theme. I mean, obviously, as much as you'd be worried about Valentine's Day now being with the Miner, Harry Ward and people stalking the mines and killing people in the process, you also have to worry about Halloween and Michael Myers stalking the streets of Haddonfield. Now you got to be worrying about Thanksgiving. I mean, obviously, NECA Toys has done a really great job on this release. I'm, again, a little disappointed the fact that I ordered this guy online, and even at the time of doing this video, the guy is still being shipped to me. I mean, again, I just know that if next time, I probably will maybe place the orders separately, maybe putting the figures in individually so that if any of those do end up getting in stock, and again, not faulting NECA Toys at all. I don't mind the fact that they did want to save the shipping costs. A lot of companies do that. A lot of companies do. But it just meant that, at least from a reviewing standpoint, I just couldn't get the review up right away. Couldn't wait any longer, so I ended up ordering him online. And just ultimately, through all of that, all my long-winded story, as long as it may have been, I'm so sorry for that, it just ultimately will mean I'll have another Carver in my collection. And then again, based on what we're seeing right here, that's not a bad thing at all. You'd think it'd be hard to be a figure company like NECA, banking on unestablished IPs, that's intellectual properties. Because while unfortunately the merchandise may look really good, if it's based on an IP that bombs, the likelihood of collectors then wanting to source out these figures will be quite low. I mean, look at, for example, Rob Zombie's Munsters. Don't actually look at it. I wouldn't really even recommend watching the movie unless you're a diehard Munsters fan. I was a big Munsters fan, and yet I hated the Rob Zombie movie. And yet, NECA did produce some pretty decent ultimate figures of Lily, Grandpa, and Herman. I already picked up Grandpa. I haven't yet to actually pick up Lily or Herman. But even though we don't have original classic Munster characters, these will be good stand-ins for at least right now. NECA did their job of doing pretty good-looking figures. Unfortunately, though, the IP just sort of went belly up. Luckily, though, at least they banked on someone like Eli Roth. Eli Roth, I mean, it's safe to assume that if you love gore and horror films, Eli Roth is kind of the guy you want to go to. And him now producing Thanksgiving, based on originally a teaser trailer that we saw at the beginning of a Grindhouse film, now we're getting a fully filmed treatment, and boy, was Thanksgiving a fun treat. If you haven't had a chance yet to watch Thanksgiving, I mean, it's a pretty gorier version of Scream, but you definitely will have a great time watching. And I love the fact that we now finally are going to be getting, it's been announced already, we're getting a Thanksgiving too. And just to think that NECA was at the ground level producing these figures, John Carver is getting already, we've already seen in this review, the ultimate treatment. He's getting a retro cloth release that's being shipped as we speak. They're also doing a Toonie Tears, and they're doing a couple, I think they're also doing a stuffed turkey. I'd like to get my hands on all of those. From a figure standpoint, obviously, it's also a safer bet to produce a John Carver, because a lot of the molds, for example, they already have them. They had them with Michael Myers, they had them with the Miner. It's a very simple thing for them to tool a lot less things. Like really, all they really needed to do was the mask, the hat, and then whatever accessories, and of course the shoes and the gloves. That's an easier bet for them to bank on rather than having to tool a figure from head to toe. The end result, though, is a really interesting looking Carver, and I can't wait to finally, whenever it does show up, finally have a look at the retro cloth release of John Carver. Have you guys had the chance to pick up this figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. And if you have seen Thanksgiving, without giving anything, of course, away, we don't want to be spilling the beans here on this channel, but let me know down below in the comment section whether you actually liked Eli Roth's Thanksgiving and you're super excited for the sequel. Again, if you guys are interested, this guy is available right now in retail stores. He is also available online. And if you guys did enjoy this video, I want to throw it a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you want to stick around for more, we are going to be looking at some more NECA reviews. That's always the thing we can do here on a regular basis. We are going to be looking at a whole bunch of NECA stuff. And, of course, making sure you're hitting that bell notification. That's the best way to ensure, I guess really the better way to make sure that you're not missing out on anything is that you're coming back here on a regular basis. Because, of course, with the frequency in which the guy behind the camera, that's me, is always posting new content, Monday to Friday, there's always 2 videos popping up a day. Unless sometimes I take a break. Sometimes I may take a break, but still generally it's 2 videos a day, Monday to Friday. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.